This is an Eyewitness News special, Giving Life, the story of organ donation.
I'm Philip Palmer. Thanks for joining us for this Eyewitness News special. It was just over a year ago on March 14th in an operating room just down the hall here at St. Vincent Medical Center that I donated a kidney to my friend Dale Davis. The surgery was an amazing success. Dale's feeling better than he has in years, and now we've been given an opportunity to raise awareness about organ donation and the critical need for donors across the country. But first, an update on Dale and the story behind the amazing doctors and medical advances that allowed this to happen.
It's about 4 in the morning when Dale and I meet in the hospital lobby. Both of us and our families aware that before this day is over, we'd be connected beyond friendship.
Once we get to the room, get a little cocktail, move you over to the table, hook up EKG, pulse oximetry, which is this thing, tells how much oxygen's in your body, and your blood pressure. I talk to you for a couple of seconds, boom, you're out. Next thing you know, you're waking up and it's all over.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
There was so much mystery as to what was about to take place, but our doctor's confidence was comforting. Dale learned why the timing of the procedure has to be so precise.
I'll take it right from his room, right to your room. Put it in here.
And finally, after countless tests to learn if I'm a match and too many hours logged in dialysis for Dale, it's on.
You're going to be just fine. Just fine. We're going to take good care of you.
This procedure will be more difficult than normal because 3 arteries are attached to my kidney. Most people have only one.
Multiple arteries is just a technical challenge, but it's not something that's insurmountable. It just makes it harder.
Dr. Robert Nuragi gets the laparoscope in place. He'll use it to guide instruments through these tubes, along with a camera that makes it possible for him to see the entire operation on a video monitor. Only a short time ago, surgeons would have had to make a huge incision right below the rib cage, but now all that's needed are 4 punctures and an incision just large enough to remove the kidney. As the hours pass, Dr. Nuragi and his team patiently navigate and isolate the kidney.
Well, this kidney has been cleared off all of the tissue that surrounds it, and it's basically now attached to the vein and the artery that supply the kidney and the little tube that drains the kidney. We're almost ready to take the kidney out.
That's when they clip the arteries. Now, timing is crucial, so the rest of the surgical team has been preparing Dale in an adjoining operating room. Once the kidney's out, doctors will clean it off. Then they walk it next door to Dale's room, all in a matter of minutes. At this point, my surgery is pretty much over. For Dale, it's just beginning.
We're basically going to spend some time clean up the blood vessels.
Because of those 3 arteries, Dr. Nuragi has to take a little extra time. He has to connect all 3 to Dale's main artery. And since Dale hasn't been on dialysis for very long, doctors are hopeful the vessels will take. It's crucial to the success of the operation.
Most of our patients have been on dialysis for years. Majority have diabetes. So their vessels, the plumbings are bad. It doesn't look good. It's very difficult.
Just moments after Dale receives my kidney, it returns to life, changing from pale white to pink and freeing him from dialysis.
Straight ahead, everyone.
It was a very different scene just 6 weeks later when we were on the red carpet for a Kidney Foundation fundraiser, Dale having made an amazing recovery. Today,
I feel better than I felt, my entire adult life. I'm very fortunate to have a friend like him that stepped up and saved my life.
Advances in anti-rejection drugs make it possible for me, who has O-positive blood, to donate to Dale, who's A-positive. But for those of us who've gone through this, fate and faith seem to play a role as well. Take the married couples you're about to meet. They promised to stay together in sickness and in health, and now they share a connection that's hard for even them to describe.
There he is. Being a living kidney donor may seem like a very rare thing, but since 1988, over 86,000 people have gone through the process. Most are related by blood, parent, child, sibling, but spouses are also making life-saving decisions by the thousands.
We lay in bed and we think about it. They put your kidney in me, and it's working.
LAPD officer Bobby Norman was diagnosed with kidney cancer in 2003. Before he could have a transplant, he needed to be cancer-free for 3 years, so he continued to work and go to dialysis 3 times a week. When he was finally cleared for a transplant, he didn't have to ask his fellow officer, Sarah Faden, for help, because as his wife, she had long ago decided she was giving him a kidney.
I had told the nurses as they were prepping me, I said, this is the best day of my life next to my wedding day. I said, I've been visualizing this room, these nurses, these doctors for 3.5 years, and they thought I was crazy. I think they thought they gave me the wrong medicine, but I knew. I had prayed, I knew everything would be perfect, and I had been waiting for this day.
Bobby and Sarah had their transplant on March 13, 2007. She returned to work in about a month. Bobby returned to duty on October 5th, finally able to move forward professionally.
We have our thank you notes for the Donate Life Run Walk. And
for Kathleen Hostert, donating a kidney to her husband Craig in 1998 led her to change professions.
his last dialysis treatment, when we walked out of the transplant center, there's 250 people that were still sitting in dialysis beds, and we know some of them are still there, you know, going to dialysis 3 times a week, and we just felt like we had to do something.
So Kathleen left her job as a school teacher and now works for One Legacy, a federally designated transplant donor network, and together with Craig started the Donate Life California Run Walk in Orange County to help raise money and awareness for organ and tissue donation.
I was fortunate enough to receive the gift of life.
It's starting to become to the limelight. People are realizing that organ donation is a very noble thing to choose, to put that little pink dot on your driver's license.
Their 9-year-old daughter knows what Kathleen did, but for their 19-year-old son, Justin, he remembers the day almost 10 years ago when his mother gave of herself for his father.
It was when I went into Justin's room that morning to say goodbye that it all hit me that, wow, what are we doing to this little boy? And, you know, he was like, it's okay, Mom, I'll be okay. Go ahead and save Dad's life and I'll be okay. Okay.
Since 1988, over 8,500 spouses have become living kidney donors to their partner, over 700 just last year. Those numbers would suggest science is making the process easier. But for these two couples, their experience suggests fate plays a role as well.
It was absolutely meant to be. Absolutely. There's not a day that goes by that we're not thankful or grateful, or that we don't look at each other and just know. It's beyond words. We're so happy.
I can't put it in words. You can't describe it. She saved my life.
Of the roughly 6,000 living kidney donors last year, almost 2,500 were not related by blood. So imagine how it must feel to still be waiting for an organ transplant when thousands of people every year have life-saving surgery. Coming up, the desperate measures people are taking to get off the waiting list. Over 421,000 people have received a transplant of some sort in the U.S. alone. And medical advances make living donation easier than ever. So if it's so easy, why are so many people still in need? And how far would you be willing to go for another chance at life?
There are countries so poor, people will sell part of themselves to escape that poverty. A study by the University of the Philippines in a slum district of Manila found at least 3,000 residents sold a kidney for about $1,500 to $2,500. Selling an organ is illegal in the U.S., and it's illegal in India, where just this year, police broke up a massive organ transplant racket that may have sold 500 kidneys to clients from around the world. One donor said the organ removal doctors threatened to kill him if he told authorities. The idea that someone would buy a piece of another human being is just one example of how desperate people with failing organs can be.
Donors are not pieces of meat that we can chop up and give to people as necessary.
Dr. Gabriel Danovich of UCLA's kidney transplant program says that beyond the ethical concerns of taking from the poor, the vulnerable, and exploited, medically it's also a very bad idea for the recipient.
Once the motivation becomes financial, then whether or not people do well or not becomes secondary. So whether or not people are truthful about their past, their history, infections, connections, high-risk activities, well, why would there be necessarily if there's big money to be obtained.
Transplant centers in the U.S. take great care to ensure there is no financial motive for a living donor. It's one reason very few hospitals perform what's called a stranger donation, someone who has no connection to the recipient prior to the transplant. It's legal in the U.S. to give away a kidney to a stranger, and it has become frequent enough that websites have been created to connect those in need with people wanting to help.
She has given us love, guidance, and the gift of life, and we want to do our part and somehow return the favor.
Ophelia Costales of Fullerton has 2 grown children who posted her story on matchingdonors.com. That site is controversial in transplant circles because potential donor recipients are charged fees that range from $49 a week to $595 for a lifetime membership.
We showed it to her on Christmas Eve, and then she just started crying.
It makes me speechless, and that they had loved me so much, you know.
The website claims to have made at least 70 successful organ matches since 2005, a small number compared to over 19,000 living donor kidney transplants in the same time frame.
Okay, another tape.
There's no way to know how many times Yasmin Abdullah's story has been repeated. After posting her request for a new kidney online, she corresponded for nearly 2 months with a potential donor.
He was really good at building up to the point where he then asked for money, and it was for some orphanage. I was very hurt by that. I was very hurt.
Yasmin's search continues.
Every time I go through that, it just takes a little piece of me away.
Carol Franks also knows about false hope. In her online search for a kidney for her daughter Jenna, she met a potential donor from Utah, but that person backed out of the offer.
I really felt let down at the time, but oh God, I can't believe this still makes me feel emotional.
But her plea at livingdonorsonline.com eventually caught the attention of Patrice Smith, a 44-year-old mother in Wooster, Ohio.
At times you're wondering, you know, am I crazy? You know, what's the matter with me? Why would I do this? But I think it's really important that you have your family and friends, you know, supporting your decision to donate.
Patrice was tested and was a match. She even flew to La Jolla for the transplant, which was an unqualified success.
I just feel so much healthier than I did before, and that's made all the difference.
I felt like this is something I could do. This is something I could make a difference in somebody's life.
As a stranger donor, Patrice's motives were thoroughly questioned by doctors to make sure she wasn't being paid before she was accepted as a donor. And indeed, it is very hard for anyone to understand why somebody would donate a kidney to a stranger.
People that know, that I've told in my life, think I'm insane.
Lou wants to donate a kidney anonymously. She's from Southern California and has been matched with a recipient in New York through Chaya Lipschutz. Chaya donated a kidney to a stranger she read about in a classified ad, and now donates her time trying to convince others to do the same, using flyers, word of mouth, or even an ad on Craigslist to match people willing to donate with someone in need. And Lou needed that go-between because she was uncomfortable having to choose which person she would help.
There's all this judgment in there, and I didn't like that. I don't want to be the judger. I just want to help somebody. I just want to know that it made a difference.
Lou's potential recipient had surgery unrelated to her kidney, and as soon as she's cleared for her transplant, Lou will travel to New York for her surgery. As we continue here on this Eyewitness News special, what is it about dialysis that has patients so anxious to be free of the machine that's keeping them alive? And what questions do you have about organ donation? Do celebrities get the choice organs first? Will your doctors try to save your life if they know you're an organ donor? Myths and reality coming up. My friend Dale spent almost 5 months on dialysis. It's a grueling ordeal, but one that an estimated 341,000 Americans depend on to survive. Dialysis costs about $68,000 per person per year. That's more than $23 billion a year. For most patients, the federal government picks up about 80% of the cost. But dialysis takes a serious toll on the body over time. The survival rate for patients on dialysis for 1 year is 80%, After 5 years, it drops to 36%, and only 12% of dialysis patients survive 10 years on the machine. Experts will tell you dialysis patients can live a normal life, but imagine a life where, in a sense, you're always hooked to a machine. You can travel, but you have to arrange for dialysis sessions. You can work, but if it's physical labor, you better find another job. It's a life, but is it living?
Before the dialysis, I used to dream, but now I go day to day.
Ophelia Costales of Fullerton tries to stay positive despite grueling dialysis treatments 3 times a week, 3 long hours at a stretch.
Without that, people become very toxic and would die from electrolyte abnormalities and build up with this waste material in their body.
Every day, your kidneys process about 200 quarts of blood to sift out about 2 quarts of waste products and extra water. When a kidney fails, dialysis works as an artificial kidney, but the process takes a toll in a number of ways.
Sometimes you're very tired. You have no energy at all. You don't want to do nothing but come home and just lay down.
I was so anxious that I had to be sedated while I was on dialysis.
It is a very tough on patients, and we know that year after year there's more and more wear on the body, and that the mortality of being on dialysis in the United States is somewhere between 10 to 20% per year of patients that start will die.
As bad as dialysis can be, the machine does save hundreds of thousands of lives every year, and that fact is not lost on the people who need it.
If I want to be here and be here for my daughter, I got to do this.
As a living donor, people ask me a lot of questions. Does donating a kidney lower my life expectancy? No. Research shows that people with one kidney actually live longer. They just don't know why. What effect does this have on my overall health? None. My remaining kidney will actually grow and do the work of 2. But what if I get kidney disease? Well, that's bad luck, but most kidney disease strikes both kidneys at once. If I had 2, both would likely be diseased anyway. And what if I need a transplant? As the living donor of a vital organ, I receive 4 extra points in the organ allocation system, which means less waiting time. But those are questions regarding a living donor. Here are some questions people ask when choosing to register as a donor for when they die.
The number one fear most people have: if I'm a donor, doctors won't work as hard to save my life. That's untrue. First, it's against the law to hasten someone's death. And in addition, the medical team treating the patient is completely separate from the transplant team. Brian Stewart is with One Legacy, the transplant donor network for Southern California.
Our connection to the hospital is one where they identify the donor, they continue to care for the donor, but we are not introduced into the process until the donor has been declared brain dead.
My religion would frown upon organ and tissue donation. According to One Legacy, most organized religions approve of donation and consider it an act of charity. If I donate organs or tissue, my family could be charged for the costs. That's false. There's no cost to the donor's family for organ or tissue donation. And famous people get transplants first. Stewart says that is categorically untrue.
Keep in mind that about 28,000 transplants occur every single year. You maybe hear about 2 or 3 famous people every year that need a transplant. I mean, 99.9% of people that receive transplants are regular people just like you and me.
And finally, I'm too old. They wouldn't want my organs. Again, untrue. Donors can range in age from several weeks to 75 or older.
According to One Legacy, there are only 2 occasions where a donor is automatically eliminated: HIV and when cancer is spread throughout the body. The thing is, let the experts decide. Don't rule yourself out. When we come back, we'll show you what one person can accomplish through organ donation, and we'll give you directions on how you can help. Plus, Dale's back with some final thoughts on what this last year has meant to him. Nearly 98,000 Americans are waiting right now for an organ transplant. And here's another sobering number: only 1 in every 27,000 people who die do so in a manner that allows them to donate their organs. In other words, it's very rare for people to donate, even those who want to. But when it does happen, out of one family's tragedy, an organ and tissue donor can save or enhance the lives of more than 50 people.
One donor, 50 lives. Donated organs like lungs and hearts can directly save lives. A donated liver can save the life of someone with end-stage liver failure or cirrhosis. Donated kidneys can actually free 2 people chained to a dialysis machine. The pancreas can save a diabetic from daily insulin injections. Corneas can bring sight to the blind. Bone, tendon, and tissue transplants can help people move and walk without pain. Skin can be used to help burn patients heal and resist infection. And heart valves are often used to repair congenital defects in babies who would die without surgery. All of this is possible from one person who chooses to be an organ and tissue donor.
If you want to be an organ and tissue donor, make sure you register for the Pink Dot with the DMV. And also make sure you talk to your family, kids included. Let them know what your wishes are. And remember this, One Legacy, the group that oversees the recovery of organs in Southern California, never sees your driver's license. No one's looking through your pockets for the Pink Dot. But One Legacy can know your wishes in their database. So if you want to be an organ donor, add your name online to the Donate Life California registry. We've shown you a lot this past half hour. If you need to revisit some of this, we'll have a special page you can view through our website, abc7.com. So it was a year ago on March 14th at St. Vincent Medical Center that I gave away my kidney. Then on January 12th, I gave away my heart when I married my wife, Maureen. It's really been an amazing year, but it's also been a year of returning to normal. What's it been like for you this year?
Well, you said the word normal. It's been a return to normalcy for me. A return to a normal, healthy, active lifestyle. I can eat and drink what I want. I'm able to travel to Europe later this year with my daughters and my girlfriend Sabrina. And so when I first heard that I needed a transplant, I ignorantly equated that to radical medical procedure, which is not at all the case. And so I've been working along with the National Kidney Foundation to get the word out and educate people that it's something that is very doable. And Philip, I know you hate to hear it, but I want to thank you for graciously donating your kidney and saving my life.
It was something that I wanted to do. Glad I was able to do it. Now, we spend a half an hour trying to convince you to become a living donor. That really is a very personal decision. But I think both of us would say that if you have an opportunity to help someone along the way, take it. However that chance comes available to you. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.